What's going on, everybody? Dogman Dan here. We're going to talk about NEZHA. Okay, that's how I say it. Deal with it. It's not going to change. I am not changing. I am an old dog. I am not changing how you say it. Okay, that's how I see it. That's how I say it. It's that simple. Let's move on. This is not going to be a short video. None of my setup videos are ever short. I give you as much information as I possibly can at the time based off of what I know and how I play it. Is it all right? Maybe not, but is it going to be pretty detailed? As much as I can possibly be. If you're here for that, sit along, enjoy, comments, questions anytime. If you want something quicker or something faster, go someplace else. That's just the way it's always been. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so it was released in 18.1. It is obtainable through sortie rewards, or of course buying it as platinum, through the daily sortie rewards, okay, and it will be there forever in the daily sortie reward pool, as DE says. And it is tradable. It is actually tradable. So you can trade for these parts. And it is currently, as of this video, as of the release, the only non-prime frame that is tradable. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So if you want to trade for it, you can go ahead and trade for it, which is awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the abilities and his passive before we eventually get into the whole setup and what the ability numbers come out to and all that stuff here towards the middle end of the video. So his passive is actually what they're going to call frictionless, which basically reduces the friction on the ground and increases his ground sliding distance. For anyone that's an old school player like me for just about 3 years now, sliding used to be the old way of getting around. So this is going to be something that's going to be very familiar to you. And I really, really am enjoying it for that matter. After playing it now for a little over a week and putting in 4 forma, as you'll see when we get through this, I've got to say that this is going to be towards the top end of my favorite frames. It's definitely going to fit into the top 5 that I have as of now. I am comparing it greatly to Oberon. I believe, to me, the way I play it, it feels like the fire version of a paladin. Okay, so Oberon being the radiation and all that, and this one being more fire and that type of stuff. They are both of them are very versatile. You can build them in so many different ways. You can play it in so many different ways. It's really something that can be catered to your setup, to your style, and that can function throughout the game in really in any level, in endgame even. If you want to talk about it that way, because I've already taken this thing into some sortie missions, no problem. Okay, so that's where I'm at with that. So you're definitely going to see a lot more of this along with Oberon and some of the others, and eventually we'll bring out that top 5 video. But let's get into the abilities. Firewalker. Oh yeah. In the beginning, I didn't understand this one, but now that I've played this long enough, I understand this ability, and I love this thing. Basically, you're setting up a trail of flames, which of course will do damage. It's got a duration on it, so the longer it's on the ground and the more enemies that walk through it, the more damage they can take, the longer they stay there, that type of stuff. Because once you get hit with fire, you're going to stand there for a minute and take that proc damage, and so you've got that going on, and the extra damage per second. And we'll talk a little bit about that, obviously, and how high that damage can get based off of my setup. As well, the fire effect, excuse me, the fire effect will actually remove status effects on allies that go through it. So if you walk through it and you're being hit with a proc or a status effect at that time, this will actually remove that from you. Okay, movement speed is also increased up to 20% by this. So you don't have to think about putting rush on here if you're able to keep this ability active a lot. So we've got strength, we've got duration on here. It is an energy drain that starts at 5 seconds, but of course efficiency with duration can actually affect that power or that energy drain to make it really, really low. If you combo this with Blazing Chakram, let's say you have this on and you shoot Blazing Chakram and you teleport, and we'll talk about that in a second, this will actually detonate where you end at the location, and it'll affect anything within a certain radius of that area, causing damage to them as well. So this is a really, really overall effective ability. Blazing Chakram, on the other hand, what this does is it does heat damage. It'll inflict heat damage. It'll knock down your enemies, inflict heat damage. So anytime you want to use this, the first thing you want to think of is hard, heavy-duty enemies, bombards, heavy gunners. You know, those big guys. This is what you want to use this on because it's going to knock them right off their feet, and you're going to cause a heat proc. And this will actually bounce up to 3 times on enemies or objects before returning to you. So you have a chance to hit a couple of enemies. You have a chance to hit the enemy and jump to somewhere else, teleport to somewhere else as well if you want. Enemies killed within 10 seconds of being hit with this. So if they've been hit with this, will actually, and they're killed within 10 seconds, doesn't matter how you kill them, as long as they're killed within 10 seconds, they will release a pulse that heals allies within a certain distance for up to a certain amount of health. So again, we got strength, power, range that are going to be effective in here. Teleporting won't consume any energy. Energy cost, of course, is affected by the power efficiency. So this is a really nice thing to have. And if you utilize it correctly, you can take out the big enemies and move around throughout the map real quickly and do some heavy-duty damage. Warding Halo is something that you're going to use all the time. And you're going to see me use it all the time. You can go without it, but you're going to really use this all the time. And other than its annoying, consistent circle that keeps going around you, so choose your color properly, otherwise it's going to be very distracting. This is going to be a beautiful thing. I mean, it creates a ring of fire that will stun and damage enemies who get too close to you. Okay? It's that simple. You have a invulnerable duration of up to 3 seconds based off of the level of the character of the frame. Okay, so at max it's 3 seconds. You can't change that. It's always going to be 3 seconds. However, 3 seconds of invulnerability means during that 3 seconds, any damage taken to Warding Halo will actually increase the damage absorption that it can handle after that. So it's affected by power strength. Absorption is also affected by the armor. So power strength and armor is going to increase this. And you just kind of have to figure out where your best little bet of it is. The damage is converted into the absorption, like I said. And, of course, enemies that wander within a certain meteor radius of this, so range is an issue, are going to get damage per second, okay? It does not prevent status effects, with the exception of blast. Knockdown effects is prevented, so you can walk through any laser that you want to. Keep that in mind as well. It's going to damage your Warding Halo, but it's going to allow you to keep walking. Just FYI, you'll be amazed at all the things this can do. Divine Spears, I'll simply put it as it's an Excalibur Radial Javelin. Only what this is going to do is impale enemies with spears to the ground and give you impale damage and slam damage, more or less. It's a nice thing to have in a pinch, get a few enemies out of the way, but I honestly, the way I've set this up, I am not using this at all. The impale damage and expiry slam damage are affected by power strength. You've got power range for the radius, duration, of course, for impale duration, holding them there longer. And impaling enemies are treated as a knockdown and can trigger ground finishers as a result. So that's, you know, where that stands with those. Let's go ahead and get into the actual setup here, so you can see how I've set it up, where I'm focusing on, and then we can talk about what the abilities look like in terms of numbers as well. Okay, here we are. Let's get right down and dirty into it. So let's come over here, take that off for a second so you can see where we're at in terms of everything, as we just talked about: Firewalker Blazing, Chakram, Warding Halo, Divine Spears. Don't mind my phone making weird noises in the background. So as I've set it up, we are going to increase our damage per second on Firewalker to 422 with a 17-second duration on the flames on the ground. 2.5% energy, or 2.5 energy per second is our how this is going to come out. We can get it down much lower than that, but this is where I'm happy with it. Our explosion damage is 2600 with a 3.66 meter radius, which I've lost the radius a bit, but that's okay. I'm happy with where I'm at, and the 20% increase in speed that you cannot change at all. That's what it is at max. It's that simple. Health per kill, 474.75 is here. So 474.75 is the regen health once you kill an enemy on that that ring, that power ring, if you will. where it shoots out. Duration of 17 seconds on the blazing chakram, so you've got a lot of range to work with this on its 3 turns before it gets back to you, with a 4.88 meter range. Okay, again, I'm losing in range. You'll see why I'm taking range out of here. Range is probably the least of an issue for me in terms of things, where everything else is more the focus here. Warding Halo, my damage absorption 3745 currently. That's where I'm happy. Yes, you can get this well over 4,000, but in terms of making everything work well, 3745 is where I am sitting at right now. We got a damage per second at 263.75 when they get too close to me within the 1.22 meter range, which you will see them from time to time actually burn, taking burn damage or taking the status from the fire type of thing. And so that's a nice thing to have as well. Time invulnerable, again, 3 seconds. So in Divine Spears, which I rarely will ever touch, honestly, based off of how I've set this up, these first 3 are my big ones. I've still got a 1266 impale damage. I could go higher. I have worked it out higher, but this is fine with me here. 20-second duration that you can leave it active doing this damage, with a 11.5 meter range and a slam damage of 1266 as well. So it's decently set up and good for that crowd control that you need in a real bad pinch. But overall, we're going to be running and gunning with Firewalker, Warding Halo, and Blazing Chakram, comboing in and out throughout the whole time we're using him. And I say him because he's a he. Okay, whoops, let's get out of here. Let's get over to how I've actually set it up. No special helmets right now, so none of that going on. Upgrade-wise, as you can see, and let me come out of here. Let's get into here. Okay, I'm using Zenerek, and we'll talk about that in a minute, why I want to put Zenerek on here. It's just personal choice. We can see where we're increasing everything. Our major loss is in power range, which, based off of how I'm playing it, it's not really going to affect me much. 4, Forma Deep, Energy Siphon, which could easily change based off of the Zenerek setup, and we'll talk about that again. I ended up with Cunning Drift here for extra power range increase to bring this back up to 61% from what I lost, okay, if you will. So I've got more friction loss here, so he can really slide. 30% friction loss plus the frictionless that comes with him. He can slide like you wouldn't believe. Loving it this way. Now, in terms of duration, we're going narrow-minded with prime continuity here to give me this 171 because we're losing 60% duration here by having fleeting expertise. Okay, so we can get that well over 200 without fleeting expertise, but I want that because I need the efficiency. Now, we're going to utilize Blind Rage with Intensify, Max Intensify 2 below on Blind Rage, so 81% plus the 30% here to give me that 211% power strength. Loving that with the Firewalker and the Blazing Chakram and the Warding Halo. But we've got the negative 45% efficiency, so that's how we gain this 15% back here. Okay, just so you can see it. And then in terms of how we set this up, of course, we've got Vitality, Max Rank with Steel Fiber for the additional armor, and that increases my Warding Halo along with the Power Strength. Remember, Power Strength and we'll say armor. I'm sorry, armor here increase your Warding Halo. Okay, so you could put Armored Agility in here. You won't get it as high, but you could put it there. But you don't need to put Armored Agility in here because you're going to also get your speed increase from having Firewalker active. So as you can see, so we've got a 350 armor pool, which is really good. Health pool 555, power of 600 with the prime flow. It's fine. I actually ran it for a while without prime flow and put the extra range mod on it, and that was fine too. Keep that in mind, or you could put the extra efficiency streamline on here as well if you wanted to, and you could get away with just a 225 power pool if you're not utilizing the number 4 ability anyway. You could get away with that and have enough energy to run around. But in long-term higher level, I ended up with the prime flow once we get into the higher level, just so I have that extra energy flowing towards me. So that's where we're at with this: power strength, efficiency, duration, We're going to lose in range, but we're not going to really be that affected by that loss in range. You won't notice it very much. You still got enough going on in there for the play. And then if you're still sticking around, let's take a walk around here to visit our little operator, and I'll show you where I'm at with this. My idea here. So I switched over to Xeneric for this to keep it active for now. And really, all you got to do, once you have them open, just as FYI, is click to make it primary, and you can utilize that as your primary when you set it off in-game. So here we're looking at energy overflow, which is a must. So this is going to replenish my energy per second, which once I've got this all maxed up, I'll be able to actually take the energy siphon off of the frame, because I won't necessarily need it there because I'll have it here as a passive for myself. And then I'm actually thinking out this way. We've got energy surge to it leaves a pulse in the field that adds 2 energy per second to allies standing within it for 5 seconds, so we can get some energy gain back from here. We've got the Umbra Lances, which I'm also looking at as well. The Void pulse that creates a 6-meter aura around a player for 20 seconds. It lashes out at enemies with harmful void energy, dealing 4,000 damage per second. That can only just really suit this frame just right, but I haven't unlocked those yet. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of the Xeneric stance here for this frame. So that's about it here. I mean, there's some other stuff, but I'm not too concerned. But those are the 3 that I'm really looking at for this use. If you have comments or questions about this, please do feel free to leave them below. Of course, the builds can change throughout time as I play it more and more like they do with my other stuff. And we'll keep you up to date on that. But if you have comments or questions, please do feel free to leave them. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Have a happy, safe holiday if you're watching this during the holidays. And I will catch you guys next time.